Good evening. Thank you all for being here. I want to welcome you to our speaker series, and we are so grateful that you've chosen to be with us tonight. We have two highly accomplished community leaders who are going to be sharing insights on tonight's topic, which is Think Differently, Lead Better. Before we introduce our guest speakers, I'd like to share a little bit about our Bachelor of Science in Leadership program here at Lake-Sumter State College. Our BAS-L is designed to provide access for students to earn a baccalaureate degree locally from Lake-Sumter at an affordable price. The program focuses on leadership, guiding our students through their educational journey while reaching their fullest potential as leaders. Our program offers 6 concentrations, sports leadership being one, project management and organizational management are 2 of the others. The goal of our speaker series, which is the second one of this semester that you're attending tonight, is to inspire our students, our alumni, and community members on what it means to be a leader. And we specifically focus on that through the lens of communication, collaboration, and critical thinking. And most of all, we want our students to be able to gain real-world experiences and perspectives that align with their educational journey and their chosen career paths. And now I would like to introduce our interim president, Dr. Laura Bird.
Thank you, Dr. Cummings. Good evening. On behalf of Lake-Sumter State College, I am delighted to welcome you all to today's Bachelor of Applied Science in Leadership panel discussion. It is a pleasure to see so many of you, our dedicated bachelor students, in attendance tonight. We know you are committed to learning and professional growth. Your presence here reflects your ambition to shape the future of our community and beyond. And for that, we are so proud of you. At Lake-Sumter State College, we pride ourselves on providing a supportive and enriching environment where students can thrive academically and personally. Our focus is on developing leaders who are equipped with the skills necessary for success in today's dynamic work environment. We believe that by fostering a culture of collaboration and innovation, we can empower our students to make meaningful contributions to their communities. I am told that tonight's leadership theme is collaboration, and we are honored to have 2 great panelists with us this evening. They are both great collaborators, and they exemplify a spirit of leadership throughout our community. They have a commitment to economic development in Lake County. First, we have Kathleen Dial, the Executive Director of Development Services for Lake County. Kathleen brings over 20 years of experience living and working in this community. Her diverse background as an educator, school leader, and business owner has provided her with unique perspective on individuals who unite for a common goal. Joining her is Ray Villegas, a vice president at Lake Economic Area Development Partnership, known as LEAD. Ray is a graduate of Drexel University with a career in economic development and business leadership. Ray began his journey in wireless telecommunications before moving to Claremont, where he co-founded a marketing business and became actively involved in local chambers of commerce. His extensive experience includes leadership roles at South Lake and Mount Dora chambers, as well as the city of Claremont and Career Source Central Florida. Since October 2022, Ray has been instrumental in LEAD's work to enhance Lake County's entrepreneurial ecosystem. Tonight, our moderator is Ms. Deb Snellen, Executive Director of Professional Development and an instructor in the BAS Leadership Program here at the college. Deb's skills in leadership, management, and organizational development make her an excellent moderator for tonight's discussion. Thank you again to our amazing panelists for joining us here tonight. We are excited to hear their insights on how we can foster economic growth through effective leadership and partners. Please join me in welcoming Kathleen, Ray, and Deb.
Thank you, Dr. Bird. Welcome, everybody. We have an exciting night for you. Thank you to Milton for blowing us into this month instead of when it was previously scheduled in October. But we're glad you could come and join us this night instead of previously in October. So I have some questions. Some of you as students have submitted some questions. So we're going to get through a few of those questions and then we'll open it up to the floor. So if you hear something you'd like to hear a little bit more about, or if you have a question, there'll be time for that as we get near the end of the program. Okay? So let's just start out, and I'm going to start with you, Kathleen. If you could just start by telling us a little bit more about your career and your role at Lake County.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for the invitation and for having us here and for postponing. Part of my job at Lake County is the recovery section chief in the emergency operations center when there is an emergency or we're activated. So this was my first big storm, and it was quite a big role to play, but I learned so much, and it was really inspiring how everybody in the county in that room comes together and collaborates to do what's needed. So thank you for rescheduling, and thanks for the invitation. Yeah, I like to think of this as my career adventure because I made a change about 2 years ago in a career pathway change. I was trained in education, I was a teacher, I was a principal. As I took time off to be at home with my kids, I won't say how long ago that was, but I worked in our family-owned title company at Summer Bay Resort at the corner 192 and 27. My family moved here in the 90s to open that, and has kind of been a family business. So I've had a little bit of experience in private development and in education. And about 2 years ago, I just started doing some soul searching, maybe a midlife crisis. Leave it to an overachiever to have a midlife crisis and change careers. But I just started thinking about ways I could impact Lake County in a different way. When you love and serve students in Lake County and you see hundreds and thousands of kids come through your school that you love, and you want to make Lake County a great place for them to live, work, and play for years to come, I just developed a passion to make sure that we had great career pathways for them in the future. And so I started exploring work and workforce development, which is really key to economic development in Lake County, and led me to a job with Lake County government, the Lake County Board of Commission, as the Economic Development Director in May of 2023. And this past June, I was appointed as Executive Director of Development Services with Lake County. So that means that I get to serve the offices of Economic Development, Planning and Zoning, Building Services, and Code Enforcement. So I like to think of economic development as kind of a holistic approach from the county. We do a lot with workforce development. You'll hear Ray talk about the way we partner with LEAD for economic development in the county. But it's really about the quality of life that we're building in the county, the way we're growing, and the way that we're preserving the natural resources we have in the county. So get to have a little bit of influence over that. And it's been an exciting journey. I think that the leadership skills that I've developed in different roles have transferred into this real nicely, and I'm really enjoying this work.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Ray, how about you? Talk about your journey to your role here with LEAD.
Yeah, thank you. And again, thank you, as Kathleen had mentioned, for the opportunity here. It's great to kind of, I guess, talk about our journey together, because as she mentioned, we collaborate very, very much, and it's neat to kind of be in this forum here to talk to folks going through the business program here. So I transferred, I was working for AT&T Wireless in Philadelphia, where I grew up. I moved to Claremont in 2004, transferred with AT&T. Through there, I got involved with a small business, and that's where I came across really the South Lake Chamber of Commerce in Claremont. And it was kind of eye-opening to me. I still remember this day. This was 2007. I was working my small business, it's just me and a partner, and someone had said, hey, you should check out this chamber event, and it was 7 a.m. on a Friday morning, and I remember opening the doors, and at the time, it was one of their larger breakfasts, and there was probably about 250, 300 people there. You open the door, I mean, it was like right out of a movie. You open the door, all of a sudden you hear this, just the hum and the chatter, and the people just having a good time, shaking hands, hugging, and things like that. And I remember to myself, I mean, I was in my late 30s, I think, at that time, and I said, how on earth did I go this far in my life and have no idea that this happened in terms of a chamber of commerce? And so I learned about what a chamber is as a member, and then I had the opportunity during the crash of 2008 to join the staff there, and was just lucky enough to become the director of membership there. So that was kind of a transition into my second career, and was able to find out about community development, economic development, and really how a community functions. And so from working at the South Lake Chamber, I also had positions at the Mount Dora Chamber. I was a vice president at the Seminole County Chamber, and then also worked for Career Source Central Florida, which is a workforce development board, and also the UCF Business Incubator. I got a position at the UCF Business Incubator, which kind of to me is like that second tier of learning for me about learning of the process of entrepreneurism. Working at chambers of commerce, you at least the chambers that I worked in, you're around business owners all the time, but at least I wasn't exposed to the journey that many entrepreneurs go through, both on a local level and a global level. And so that's when my eyes were opened about entrepreneurism, and that's kind of translating to what I'm doing with LEAD. As I joined the LEAD team, I was employee number 2. And LEAD is a public-private partnership, and that's how we collaborate as government and a public-private partnership, both working together to drive economic development. And so it's been a fantastic journey, again, as employee number 2, and we're only 2 years into our journey. It's neat to kind of be here and kind of doing a recap with Kathleen, because Kathleen's, you said May of 23? Seems like it's been like 5 years. So that's how well she's really transitioned into her role. So, but yeah, so that leads us to here, right now.
All right. The next question then, given the tremendous growth in this region, and now you're both very much in the middle of all of that, what is happening to foster all of that economic growth? What strategies have you found to be effective? You know, you're both fairly new in these roles, but what strategies are going to work for us?
I guess I'll take that. Well, so LEAD was formed as a public-private partnership, and really with heavy investment from Lake County government, but also getting the private sector involved. So that's where the public-private comes from. Our plan of work for driving economic development is really based on 3 legs of a stool, how we call them. So I mentioned about entrepreneurship. That's what I oversee. And that's really about getting entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs to get the resources that they need to find out, how to craft their business plan, how to get the resources that they need so that they hire employees, or all these things that kind of is the soup in terms of success. So that's the entrepreneur side. So the more that entrepreneurs succeed and get the resources they need to succeed, the better that our economic development prospects are in Lake County. The second leg of the tool is called business retention and expansion. We have a colleague, Mike Kelly, who's also a career educator as well, so it's a really neat connection with Kathleen. And he works with primary employers in Lake County, looking to get them the resources and just keeping in touch with them to get the things that they need and keep in touch with potential opportunities for them, so that they have X amount of employees. What do they need to expand, or what troubles they might having in terms of finding workforce, so that they can make their businesses better and grow and prosper. And then the third leg of the stool is business attraction. So that is bringing in other primary employers into Lake County who don't necessarily have a presence here yet. So I have another colleague, his name is Mason Henson. He came from working at the state of Florida, and he basically markets Lake County all over the country at different seminars and different conferences, and other countries as well. So it's basically putting our best foot forward to other companies around the globe, and letting them know the great qualities that we have, the great things that we have in Lake County that will help their business to succeed here.
And in 2023, you've probably all heard about 1,000 people a day move to Florida. In 2024, that number they expect slowed down to more like 750. Overall, Lake County has consistently trended to be about the 6th fastest growing county in the state, and you probably see that in your neighborhood. Certainly you see it on the roads. And so, what's driving people to Lake County, I think, is the regional connectivity that we have now. The 429 is complete. The Wekiva Parkway extends into the Mount Dora Sorrento area. There's just faster connectivity to the Orlando MSA and the region for people who want to live a little bit outside of Metro Orlando. And then just people moving to Lake County because of the quality of life that we have here. 1,500 lakes in Lake County, lots of beautiful parks and trails for people who, want to be outside. The houses are a little bit more affordable in Lake County than they are in the Metro Orlando area. And there's 14 different municipalities in Lake County. So if you're looking for something that's very rural, if you're looking for something that's more urban, there's diversity, in Lake County. And we say for business, you can find a place that, is best going to suit your needs. But there's also a risk with that for Lake County because, we don't want to just be a bedroom community to Orlando. The risk is if we don't go after business attraction and pay attention to the workforce needs in the county and the way our businesses are growing, then we won't have the high wage, high value jobs for our residents in Lake County to do here. And then they'll be forced to drive out of the county to work. We have about 60% of our workforce right now leaving Lake County to go to work every day. We'd like to see that number vastly reduced because we have brought great employers with high value, high wage jobs to Lake County so that students who are in school earning certificates or degree pathways, there's a job for you in Lake County whenever you graduate and you feel like this is a place where you can put down your roots and make a home. So definitely a lot of work for us to do. That's probably one of the things that keeps anybody working in economic development awake at night, which in a lot of ways we all work in economic development because any school system, any higher education, anybody working in training and workforce, you are working in economic development to make Lake County a better place to live for the future. So definitely a lot of work to do, but we have a great team and we have a lot of people who are there for the right reason, but definitely feel the weight of that, I think, in our work every day.
You've mentioned some statistics in your previous answer, and certainly as a college, I know we rely very heavily on data as we think about how we grow. So let's talk about that a little bit. How do you approach the research that tells you what our community needs? How do you sort that out, and how do you know what's going to be successful here versus some other community? Talk a little bit about data and research and how that helps you.
Well, we rely on several partners in local government for research and analytics to figure out some of our workforce statistics. CareerSource Central Florida, Yolanda is here from CareerSource. She's a great partner to Lake County and a great friend to everyone, an array of sunshine just in general. So, but they really are helpful in providing us with any kind of workforce data and statistics. We work with the Florida Chamber of Commerce. They have a scorecard online called the Florida Scorecard, and they track all kinds of things throughout Florida in general, but also county by county. So you can see some of their goals for 2030. And so we get a lot of data and statistics from there. We have partners at LEAD who can pull data for us and put information together if it's like a really specific thing we're looking for. We have partners at the Orlando Economic Partnership who have subscriptions to specific services to help us pull data. And the East Central Florida Planning Council also can help us. But it's really up to local government to take all those pieces of data and put together the programs and things that are needed to, advance the goals of the Lake County Commission and the Economic Action Plan for Lake County. So it's an important role, but we rely on partnerships and collaborations with other entities to, source the data, pull it all together. Sometimes it doesn't match. Sometimes you get data from two different sources and they don't, always say the same thing. So it's only as good as the input, so you have to kind of judge the validity of it and decide, are your actions and decisions really based on, sound data that's coming in. But one of the key pieces of data, I think, in the last year that has come in that has really driven us in terms of workforce development is a need for upskilling. there's about 25,000 people in Lake County who have not yet achieved a high school diploma, age 25 and over. And so that's really your first basic benchmark to any kind of higher wage job, is that high school diploma. So, you know, there's a lot of need for identifying who in the workforce that is and how we can connect them with places like Technical College and Career Source to really work on that very first benchmark for the threshold of a higher wage job.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Kathleen alluded to it, but economic development is really, I think, the ultimate team game. It takes, you know, what is it? It takes a village, is how the saying goes. And that's, again, I think the beauty of the organization lead and being a public-private partnership, because it builds that, really that engagement from the business community. And it's not just government, you know, doing all they can to drive economic development, but you also engage the business community as well, which is very important. You know, the data part is, you know, like any other business or any other initiative that you have, that's where you're kind of trying to help navigate those waters and looking into the future at the same time. So, you know, one of the statistics she mentioned about education is here's one tidbit that I found out just being with LEAD so far, and it has to do with third grade reading scores, and that's how they determine where to put prisons is based on third grade. Am I saying that right? Third grade reading scores, and they point to where prisons need to be based on those third grade reading scores. I don't know the exact math, but to me that was kind of like, wow, no wonder, because as she mentioned the Florida Chamber, so as I've looked at data throughout the years from them, you know, and I never had asked the question, I probably should have, but it's like, why is that third grade such a milestone? You mentioned about milestone. So that's kind of, that's the holistic part of what we're talking about here, how we're building communities, how we're looking out for, really from an economic development perspective, it's 5, 10, 20 years into the future, and in many ways, working with businesses, working with government, and all the while having 1,000 new people coming to Florida, many of them coming to this area, and trying to navigate those waters and build consensus. And I'm a little bit off on a tangent here, but it's kind of flow of discussion of that's the challenges that I think our communities have as well, in terms of trying to, you know, build consensus and paint that picture, you know, trying to get people out of the here and now and trying to say, here's what's good for our community tomorrow. And yeah, so anyway, I'm sure that's going to come up in another question, Deb.
Well, you know, what strikes me is, so leaders make decisions, right? Leaders make decisions. You have to make decisions all the time. And so based on all of this data, I think it takes a special skill to see the impact of data down the road, which is something both of you need to do. So my next question actually comes from one of our students. And the question is, what strategies do you use to evaluate the credibility of data? So I kind of think of that question as, you know, how do you know what's going to be relevant to us and what isn't? That's a critical leadership skill. How do you navigate that one?
I don't know if specifically in terms of the data, but I think one of the things that we lean on is being involved in economic development as a profession. And so there's on the local level, you've got the Florida Economic Development Council, so it's economic developers from all over Florida, and we interface many times with different communities. And again, it might not specifically be about the data, but it might be about things that best practices, quite frankly. So it leads up from the FEDC, Florida Economic Development Council, to the IEDC, which is the International Economic Development Council. So these are best practices shared across the world from economic development organizations. And again, each community is unique. They have their different dynamics, but principles, you know, in terms of you know, so for example, you know, one of our goals, especially in Lake County, is diversifying the tax base. So those kind of statistics are cut and dry. And tax base meaning we get X amount, a government is funded by X amount from the commercial industrial type of taxes to the residential. And so developing strategies long term to diversify that. And what does that mean? So, You break it down to right now, I guess in general, it's about 30% of the government's revenues comes from industrial manufacturing type companies in Lake County, and 70% comes from the residential, the homeowners. That's a large burden to be able to, God bless the local elected officials. I mean, I bow before any elected official for them to put themselves, at minimal, quite frankly, minimal income, but they do it for the good of their community. And they have to make decisions based on, they have to provide fire, they have to provide water, so all these different things, safety, EMTs. They have to figure out how to make sure that their citizens that they oversee get the benefits and the things that they need to live as a peaceful community. The budget is kind of what drives many of their decisions. And so when you have a high dependence on residential, it can be challenging. So that's where one of our focuses is to bring more companies, more businesses to the area to diversify that. And so I'll kind of end on my one other statistic I guess I've learned, other than the prison third grade thing, because that's kind of a downer. But in terms of framing what this means, so say a Amazon logistics facility, say 500,000 square feet, there's good jobs in there, but the tax revenue generated by a 500,000 square foot Amazon facility is kind of equal to about 200 or 250 homes. So when you think about 250 homes spread out, the municipality or the county that has to build the roads out there, they have to get the sewer and water so that the homeowners can live, and they have to keep the sidewalks and everything upkept over that, as opposed to a logistics facility that has one big pipe for the water and the sewer. The company itself is typically the one that keeps upkeep for their, the landscaping and the parking lot and things like that. So that's kind of hopefully you can kind of see that, where that impact of how important companies can be towards providing really a better quality of life for the citizens that they serve, that they are around.
I think in terms of data validity, there's definitely some gold standard in terms of sources that we rely on, that when we're reporting numbers, you're hearing it from population that's been certain is, the census. So if you see anybody reporting population of previous things, they're getting that information from the census. For population projections in the state of Florida, the University of Florida has a Bureau of Economic and Business Research. They call it BEBR, B-E-B-R, not the Justin kind, the Gator kind, I guess. But that's kind of the gold standard for population projections. And you'll even see the Florida Department of Commerce using the BEBR projections. And so when Lake County talks about, we're at 435,000 people or so today, and we're projected to be over 600,000 in 2050, BEBR produces yearly, at the beginning of each year, updated projections, and they list them at a low projection, a medium, and a high. And Lake County is trending somewhere between medium and high. Somebody said average those two, and that's your best prediction for growth in Florida right now. But that's kind of the gold standard. So you definitely have things that you can rely on as a gold standard, and then you have some data that's produced by the Department of Commerce in terms of projections that I know CareerSource uses and Lake County uses for what industries are growing, what jobs are growing, how many more of these in this region can you expect to need in the next 5 to 10 years. And so that's helpful for us and for educators. I know Lake-Sumter uses it. I know Lake Technical College uses it in looking at how to grow programs for the future. So there's definitely some gold standards. There's some that you might get that you are checking, and maybe you're not making firm decisions on, but you're looking for trends between a couple different data sources. But definitely you're getting some that is actionable and that you can rely on, and that if any county or anybody in the state's reporting this, then you would expect it. And we try to always source our data. If we're doing any kind of a presentation, we always will try to tell you where it's coming from. We produce, or the Office of Economic Development on my team produces a quarterly economic update that's specific for Lake County that's full of data, and we always source each line where that's coming from. So it's just transparent and clear where it's coming from.
With all the growth, innovation has to play a role in that. So can you talk about innovation, and how do you encourage innovation, and what do you do with those people who think, we're fine as we are?
You have a thought, go.
Well, I think it's been exciting to see how innovation and economic development are kind of intersecting. And one way we're seeing that is in some advanced manufacturing and how that's intersecting with the high-tech industry. When we think, well, I'm older than most of the people in this room, but some of us, when you're growing up and you think about somebody doing manufacturing, it's a dirty job. It's everybody getting their hands dirty and an assembly line. And so much of that is now automated, and it is a high-tech industry. And so those jobs are changing to be more technical skills and to be, honestly, more high wage because of the technical expertise that comes with that. And so it's exciting to watch some of those changes. But I think as a county, there's a desire for us to be innovative in how we drive economic development while also balancing the natural resources that we enjoy here in Lake County, and how to kind of strike that balance between the growth that we know is coming and how do we preserve and protect our rural land in Lake County. And, you know, quality of life means something different to everyone. And so some people want that, you know, multi-use building where they can live on the top floor and there's a Starbucks or a coffee shop on the bottom. And some people want to live somewhere where there's 1 to 5 acres of land for each house. So it's beautiful that we have that diversity in Lake County, but it does take innovation to think about ways to make sure we're balancing that growth. The county has worked over the last 10 years to establish 4 strategic growth corridors throughout the county, from Mount Dora Wolf Branch Innovation District, the Mineola Turnpike Interchange, Wellness Way in South Lake County, and the Christopher Seaford Commerce Park in Groveland have all been designated as areas where we can really drive economic development, really look for great employment centers, not just service retail employment, but the high wage, high value jobs, but also in 3 of those 4 corridors really absorb a little bit more of the dense housing growth that we're expecting to see in Lake County. So I think it takes strategic planning, and, you know, we have seen that with our elected officials in Lake County on the Board of Commission. And then I think in some ways, like in Wellness Way with new State Road 516, the Lake Orange connector that's coming that will connect Highway 27 in Claremont over to the 429. It'll be about a mile or a little more stretch of road. You know, that's going to have floating solar panels. It's going to have wildlife crossing. There's a wildlife corridor that runs through Wellness Way. So finding innovative ways to really mash sustainability with economic development has been exciting. That road will also have, one of the lanes will have an in-pavement charging system for electric vehicles that could potentially charge your car as you drive on it. And so, you know, it's exciting to watch all those things come together, but it really does take innovation and leadership to get there.
And education too. So one of the things that I think specifically innovation-wise is you think Lake County is right between 3 of the major research institutions in Florida, University of Florida to the north, USF, and then UCF. And so, you know, just having the awareness, especially, you know, where, you know, education, people learning at their kitchen tables now necessarily, or now, you know, the pandemic has driven, hopefully, accessibility to Wi-Fi and just those types of things that can be curated online. And so, you know, that's one of the cool things that we've, I think, definitely brought from a innovation entrepreneur perspective is connectivity to regional resources as well, found out through Central Florida. So again, I worked at the UCF Business Incubation Program. It really opened my eyes to all these different resources available in Central Florida. And one of the cool things is we have a good connection with, it's called the Florida High Tech Corridor Council. And they recently had brought a pitch competition to a place where we have entrepreneurs. Kind of the home base for entrepreneurs right now is in Eustis, a place called the Mega Workplace. We've had, I believe, Dr. Garrick has brought some students there. Had some kids from FBLA, from Eustis High School. And to have this pitch competition, 'cause everyone's watched Shark Tank, right? So again, I've said God bless many things, but God bless Shark Tank for bringing the awareness to the general public of this is how things happen from the entrepreneurial perspective. Having met a few of when I was at the UCF, a few of these entrepreneurs who are now, I follow them on LinkedIn and Facebook, who they are now pitching to, for millions of dollars to push forward their innovation. It's right here. You have the resources, whether it's here at your state college or down the road at one of the research institutions, and we've put a big emphasis on further building the ecosystem for entrepreneurs. I mentioned about the 1 Million Cups, which is the home base for entrepreneurs. Having that, I think, in the either sphere or whatever it's called, and building that ecosystem for entrepreneurs to kind of connect on a weekly basis. And I think at that pitch competition, we had someone who, they weren't from Lake County, but they were working with farmers on Lake County. So it was an innovative app called Agri, I believe. And so he was looking to, so he went to think of Uber or Uber Eats, and he's made connections with Lake County farmers or people who have the potential to farm, or maybe an orange grove that no longer is viable for oranges, but they can grow other things. And there's many people in Lake County who like fresh vegetables, nothing against Publix or Kroger or wherever you might get your vegetables, but there are a lot of people who know the value and the difference between getting fresh vegetables. And so he's working now on a platform to be able to have delivery stations at different farms, and being able to get the app up and be able to I want fresh tomatoes and celery and things like that, and be able to package that, get that from different providers, and have that in a refrigerated thing within a day. And so he was a young guy, right? So he's probably not even 30 years old. This is something that he's working on, something that he's hoping to kind of build that platform so that, again, it's going to be something that can affect Lake County, and I think we have the demographics for that, with a lot of retired people, the villages, things like that, who really value fresh vegetables. So it's that kind of thing where you can just do this at home now, come up with an idea, collaborate with people across the world, people that you might have gone to high school, grade school, college with, and be able to work on things online. And so to kind of spark that fire and understanding of, look what's happening in Central Florida or around the world, really, and be like, the sky's the limit.
And then join the local chamber to meet other people.
Okay, you got to live somewhere, so support that, be a part of that too.
Support the local chamber, yeah. So our theme tonight's collaboration. And so my next question is, we know that collaboration is key to all these initiatives that are going to happen. They don't happen in a vacuum. Share how you engage with some of our local businesses to ensure that their needs align with the goals.
That's kind of goes right back to the beauty of a public-private partnership. So LEAD itself, we do outreach types of events where we invite people from different industries, have guest speakers, things like that, find out what's important to people in the manufacturing, companies that have manufacturing presence in Lake County, or in the development, or healthcare, things like that. But I guess one of the other ways is really, we've got some strong chambers of commerce in Lake County, and being able to interface with them and work with the business leaders there is very important, just to kind of keep gathering. We're talking about data, gathering information, seeing what's on the street, and having those events so that we can interface with them, kind of to see what's the pulse, what are we seeing, and it's a constant, again, 1,000 people every day, so it's going to change over time, and sometimes change very quickly. But yeah, so it's the public working with the private, and collaborating, staying in contact with each other. I know Kathleen and Yolanda are collectively at probably 24 events a week, in different ways with the business community too. But again, and it's, I mentioned about it takes a village, and that's where educating about the path that we're on, trying to work on, again, it takes everybody. And so even educating, people that aren't necessarily in it themselves, but for them to know how valuable their input is. And it's not like a big, heavy lift or anything like that. It's just having discussions with them over coffee or different things about their viewpoints. And so that's where the collaborative nature really comes in.
I think the connection, we have 9 chambers of commerce in Lake County. Lake County's, 1,100 square miles top from Astor down to Four Corners, so it's a big place. So 9 chambers of commerce that the county works to stay engaged with. And then if there's a need that comes up, I think all the chambers know that they could reach out to LEAD or Lake County and we can point them in the right direction. The county invests in LEAD for the purpose of having a resource for businesses to turn to. But we also invest and work very closely with the Small Business Development Center, SBDC, which is an arm of UCF, and they have offices here in Lake County, and they have free services because of Lake County's support, and they do one-on-one coaching. The UCF Business Incubator opened in Eustis at Mega Workplace about a little over a year ago. So that is another place where we can refer businesses to who need help. So we have kind of a menu of services and places that we can turn, including the National Entrepreneur Center in Orlando, so that regionalism approach is important too. But it's really about what's the need of the business and who's the best partner that we can connect them with. So if they reach out to the county first, we'll listen to what their needs are and then connect them with the right person at LEAD or SBDC. And I know that if they reach out to LEAD first, that they do the same. So it's really about what is the need of the business and what tools are in the toolbox that we have within Lake County or within the region to connect them with someone who can help eliminate whatever barriers to success the business is having.
And I know many of my students want to be business owners. I know that's true of Dr. Gehrig's courses too. So these are the kind of people you need to meet and network with if you're starting a business. They can be absolutely key.
If I might interject too, because I don't think I did it justice. I kind of got lost in terms of talking about that home base for entrepreneurs. I mentioned Dr. Gehrig was there. It's called 1 Million Cups. And so that was put in our purview to start this chapter, because 1 Million Cups is an organization. It's based out of the Kauffman Foundation, which is the largest entrepreneurial support organization in the country. They're based out of Kansas City. And 1 Million Cups, there's over 100 chapters around the country. And so what it is there's no barriers, there's no membership fees, there's no cost. We have people who sponsor to have coffee. We have Foxtail as our sponsor to provide the coffee. Someone brings donuts and pastries and good stuff, and it's at 8:30 in the morning every Wednesday at the Mega Workplace in Eustis. And what it's there for, it's for entrepreneurs. It's kind of focused around entrepreneurs, but any business is welcome to come, and I think they'd find value to it. And so the premise to it is we'll have an entrepreneur present about their company or their idea for a company. And they're not presenting to sell their product in the room. They're really connecting from entrepreneur to entrepreneur, saying, here's what I do, here's my company, here's a little bit of my story, and I'm having trouble with this, and this. I'm not good at digital marketing. Who in the room, has some background in that? And it's just a total support. A lot of sharing, some therapy, quite frankly, as entrepreneurism can be a very lonely thing if you're, working on a business by themselves. Where's William? We have an officer from the city of Eustis. I don't know if he's still here, but I just saw him here. He's in the program. He's there as a city of Eustis officer, attends. And so it's kind of all facets of the community many times end up there, and there's so much shared. We started it about a year ago, and I remember thinking of, I didn't know what to expect. I thought, well, if we get 15 people a week, 20 people a week, that would be a success. We're averaging over 50 people every Wednesday for this, and so the numbers really just show to me how necessary that is. And if I might close this loop here, I understood the impact going into it, and I saw a lot of great stuff happening. But there's a couple times where it's happened where someone would present. They were talking about, they were very passionate. I don't want to say what their business was, but they're very passionate about their business. They never been in business before, and so they're being vulnerable. They're saying, I'm very excited. I'm going to be starting this basically retail type of facility. And she had mentioned during her presentation that she was going to be signing a meeting with a commercial realtor later that week to sign this lease, a 3-year lease at like $3,000 a month. And she was so excited because, and so people were in the room were like, well, tell me about your business plan. Tell me about your revenue. What are the expense? How much an insurance is going to cost? All these things. And she's like, that'll take care of itself. I just wanted to. And so then that's, again, someone who doesn't have the universe around her for that support. I remember thinking, my God, this is why this group is so valuable, so that someone who made that mistake 20 years ago, and they signed a lease and then they end up, not making it. And so now, to me, that was, that really was a light bulb over my head. That's like, oh, that's why we need to have this group here for entrepreneurs to hear these stories so that they don't put themselves in a bad situation. That's the flip side, but the good side is to get inspired and to curate ideas and to really help support each other and find the ways, again, just diving into this universe of people that are just like them, trying to push a new business forward and getting that support. So again, that's all welcome to come. Am I allowed to say that, Dr. Garrett? Okay. I didn't know if you need. Oh, that was over the summer because I did, permission and things. I'm used to Lake County schools and things where you need permission from the parents and all that stuff. But so if you're free to go, please come. I'll show you the website is and the location. So.
Okay, so here's where we're going to go. Here's our roadmap. I'm going to ask you one more question. Then I'm going to open it up to the group for a couple questions. Then I got one final question, and then we'll be done. Sound like a plan? Okay. My question is, what one thing prepared you best for your current role? What one thing?
Failure. I was a small business owner, and it was open for a couple years, and then 2008 happened, and it made me change. So that's how I got into working for the chamber. I was a member there, and I was at that crossroads of this isn't really working. What are my options? It was 2008, and for those that weren't around then, it was tied into the economics of that time. I remember being at the South Lake Chamber in downtown Claremont. They were doing a job fair for I think it was Niagara Water. And there were more than 400 people lined up down the street looking for jobs. And so this was just as recently as 2008. So, but failure, I think you're not going to learn anything from success, quite frankly. You learn when you fall down and you pick yourself up and dust yourself off and keep moving. Thank you.
Kathleen, what one thing?
That's a hard one for me to answer, I feel like. But I think, and it's funny because I was just having this conversation with Dr. Cummings, but and there's a book by Marie Forleo. That's her name. I could remember her name a while ago, but it's called Everything is Figure-Outable. And so really my why is strong and secure in that I know how I want to serve Lake County and the reason why, to make it a great place for the future, forever, for generations to come in Lake County. And the belief that I could figure out some new technical skills into my role, and that my leadership skills were transferable into a different career pathway for myself is really, I think, what has brought me to this role.
And I went off script with that question, so you got a very authentic answer that they didn't have time to prepare. Just saying. Let's open it up to the floor.
What's keeping Florida from landing a big manufacturer like a car factory? You always see other southern states that are business friendly, like Florida, get these big auto manufacturing plants. Why does Florida never get those?
Well, for Lake County, a lot of it is the availability of a ready site. So we have strategic corridors now. Kathleen alluded to them in terms of places called Wellness Way. But it's not ready quite yet. There's plans to get it there. Christopher C. Ford Park is the mature industrial park. Do you know about how big is that? Do you remember?
It's 725 acres within the park and about 400 surrounding acres that are all already zoned industrial. So
Yeah,
over 1,100 acres.
And I wish my colleague Mason was here because he had worked for the state of Florida. He worked for Enterprise Florida Commerce, and he was the one who would see those inquiries come in from around the country or around the world. and be tasked with, from my understanding, companies will be like, we need this, 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 and this. We need access to airport within an hour drive. We need this kind of workforce, this many engineers, within a certain radius drive time. And I think as we working together to make sites ready, I don't know necessarily about the auto industry. Again, I'm not too up to speed on what the necessity of that is. Although I do, if I might pivot here, recently, just within the circles of economic development, there are large data centers, as everything going to the cloud and all that stuff. Large data centers where they're looking in other areas now, and we're looking at Florida, and we're working together with because that's, I don't know how many megawatts of power these data center needs. It's amazing how much they need, but having conversations with SECO and Duke Energy to be like, all right, what do we have here in Lake County as a data center? Because I think Virginia and other places like that, getting too expensive, not enough land. A data center, you think hurricane, just like we went through a few weeks ago. Lake County, having the topography, Miami, not a great fit. Tampa, potentially not a great fit. So we have things pointing in that direction, and the discussions out there, because those needs are only going to go, the needs for data center and data in general are going to be, much more needed as we move forward. Hopefully I didn't sidestep your question too much, but, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to add, so sometimes when a big company is looking for where are they going to go, they hire a site selector, and the site selector will look at things all over the country and they're looking for things like, if they need 100 acres, are there 100-acre sites, and do those 100-acre sites have utilities already to them? What kind of business incentives are within the state? And so that can give us one place over another a competitive advantage. If you have a site that's ready, that's the right size, some places may want access to rail, access to a seaport, and so it really is kind of this laundry list of what a big business is looking for, a big manufacturer, of what they're looking for, and then the site selectors kind of narrow it down by that. So there are some states who county governments or city governments may own a lot of land, and so they can leverage that to try to attract a business based on land that they own. If they have a great incentive package, from the state level and the county level and the city level, they can, triple dip on an incentive and some kind of a tax rebate to come. Lake County is very pro-business and really seeks to be the most business-friendly county in the state of Florida. And we do have some incentives that we can use for certain sectors of business if it's a targeted industry for Lake County that we see is going to bring the high-wage, high-quality jobs. But some states may have different packages that would give them a competitive advantage over another state.
And then one other thought for that, specifically I think autos would apply to, is that Florida's a peninsula. And so you think if you're going to manufacture things in Florida, the majority is going to have to go further to spread. Now you got the ports and things like that. And I think that's why I think Atlanta, places in Georgia, you look for a southeast manufacturing place. Now you can go down to Florida or north, southeast, west, so their distribution's a little bit better. I don't know that specifically, but I think I've heard in other conversations similar types of things of, we're in the middle of we're a peninsula, so there's only really one way to go, or limited places to go depending on your product and certain, products.
Let's take one more question. Yes, please.
Hello. You mentioned 1 million cups. Is
Yes.
this located at 36 West Pine Street?
Oh, that's Orlando. That's the Orlando chapter.
Yes.
That's a good one too. I've been involved in that, but we have one in Lake County, which is at the Mega Workplace. So it's 1 million cups, Lake County, Eustis.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Was there one more question? Yes, sir.
I don't know how far I have to hold this, but as someone who has a small business here in Lake County, in Leesburg, you spoke about the evolution and advancement of Lake County. How do people like us who've had a small business here for a long time keep up with that evolution and advancement without being pushed out of the county?
Great question.
Without getting pushed out of the county, you mean in terms of finding the things that you need to succeed?
From what I've noticed, small businesses like us have trouble competing with, say, I own a mechanic shop here in Leesburg. So when places like Pep Boys come down or other large, mechanic businesses, they usually offer better pricing because they're able to communicate with businesses outside of Florida, how can I ensure that I'm able to advance my business and evolve with Lake County without, being pushed out because of those differences?
I don't know if I have a silver bullet for you, but as someone who I try to take my cars to local trusted mechanics because of that quality. And again, I could change a battery in the car and that's about it. Shamefully, I say that, but that's where the quality. What's the advantage of you can go to a Pep Boys and get someone who's just in and out as an employee. They might have worked for Midas somewhere else or things like that. That's where you as that business owner, where you have the equity in it, you're that community person, you're that vested person in Leesburg. So that's where, again, we talked about it earlier, the power of joining a chamber of commerce to be able to get in the tapestry of Leesburg and beyond. And to get known that way. So that's something that I think we've all seen through chambers of commerce, and I've worked for them as well. But that's where your value proposition is really, you stand behind your work. Does that make sense? Okay.
I think also small business is the backbone of this country, and certainly in Lake County, it's the backbone of Lake County. One of the things that's been important in Lake County is that as we're looking to attract businesses to come into Lake County that are bringing these high quality jobs with them, that we're also paying an equal amount of attention to the businesses that are already here in Lake County, great employers doing great work. And so that's part of, why LEAD was stood up, and that they have a specific arm or leg of their stool that's focused on business retention and supporting businesses that are already here. I think working with places like the SBDC on a business plan, on a marketing plan, and leaning into the resources that Lake County has available for business owners is an important step. But it certainly is something that we are mindful of as we're growing and bigger box retailers are coming into the county. The need to support our local business owners that are local business creators and entrepreneurs is definitely something that's important.
And it's a dance too. I mean, you could say that, I'll pick on Walmart. It's like, how dare they? But they also employ 500, 1,000 people too. Mm. So it's a delicate balance many times, and that's where you as a specific business owner, you got to build that brand about yourself, being that local trusted mechanic that people like me, I trust my mechanic in Claremont because it's like I know I'm not going to get some person who just joined the team a week ago and they're off doing something else next week. So that's where I think as a small business owner, and any small business, I think that's the biggest flag that you can fly.
So in 2 minutes, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Bird. Here's how we're going to spend the 2 minutes. You each get a minute. What is one piece of advice you would give to our students in the audience? One piece of advice. You have a minute each on that one.
Are you ready, Kathleen?
In terms of leadership.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. I think that several things have served me well in leadership so far. One is that I've always tried to have somebody in front of me that is mentoring me, that I can go to because leadership can be lonely sometimes, and so having somebody that I can go to, and I've always tried to have somebody that I'm mentoring as well, so that, front and back of a leader is important. And then I think being a leader who is all about the people that they're there to serve will make sure that when you put your head on your pillow at night that you can feel good about the decisions you've made. Because it can be a lonely road, but if you are making the decisions that are right for the people that you're serving, then you can feel good about what you've done, even if it hasn't been the most popular choice, which does happen sometimes. But those things have served me well, and also making sure that I surround myself with people who have a different perspective than me, so I can understand all the complexities in any kind of situation.
Communication, I think, is a big thing. Being able to connect with a team, because as a leader, you're there to have people work with you towards a common goal, and so every person is unique and they communicate in different ways. And so this is it's a constant journey in terms of self-discovery of yourself too, and how you communicate with others. And I just recently came across, there's something, and people might be familiar with DISC and all these different personality profiles, came across something called it's Enneagram, and it's really helped me, and I'm still learning the ins and outs of it, but you have different personality types. And it helps me both from a introspective, self-discovery kind of way, why I react to things, things don't go my way, I'm connecting with somebody, and how to also connect better with them in exchange, so that so that you can move forward, whether it's a conflict or something like that. And so I think just never stop learning. I think mostly about yourself and interpersonal relationships, because she mentioned people, that's what this all is. I mean, leadership is nothing more than someone being out front and getting and inspiring people to work towards a common goal, and it's all just in how you communicate that vision and engaging people in that goal together.
Thank you. So while Dr. Bird makes her way back up stage, if we could give them a round of applause for taking their time. Thank you.
So we just want to say thank you so much to Kathleen and Ray. We are so grateful for them taking their time to be with us this evening and sharing their insights. We have just a small token of our appreciation for both of you. Let's give them one more round of applause.